¿Lo ves? Hay que intentarlo.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar vs. Trevor here, joined by Thomas as always. And today we're talking about J.A Bayona's latest directorial effort, Society of the Snow. This was a Netflix release. It's his first film since Jurassic. Is it his first film since Jurassic World? God, I hope not.
Maybe.
Anyways, J.A Bayona, coming back. I guess he worked on the Lord of the Rings show. Anyways, so this is a film. It's about a Uruguayan rugby team that is flying to Chile, and it crashed in the 1970s, and they have to survive, and it's the 1970s, and I didn't particularly care for it. To me, it feels, one, very Netflix to a fault, and two, just another in the kind of long line of like based on a true story films where it's like, oh, this inspiring tale of people who overcame the odds, and then there's absolutely no thought put into the thematic construction behind, but like beyond like just like, oh, it's inspiring and interesting. And I don't know. I don't think it's doing anything interesting as a film, except for it's not well.
I think the reason you described it as Netflix is because I think safe is the word for it.
Yes.
And I think oftentimes you look at safe films as bad because if it's safe,
I would say
it's not
bad.
very
I just want
ambitious.
more. I think there can be safe films that are good, but you have to be doing something else, and I don't think that this film is.
No. Whereas I didn't love it. It's why I'm probably not going to be passionately defending this one. I didn't hate it though. I think it is a watchable time. I think a lot of the technical aspects are good at building this, horrifying, truly horrifying sort of event that happened and creating very strong atmosphere, which I think is fine to sit through. I think it's a bit bloated. I think it's a bit long. I think when we get to the ending, it's a bit too sentimental. It's like I think a lot of that.
The ending was laughable.
When you've got like the clips of people returning home, and then just the screenplay in particular.
Like if this was an American film, they would play like the national anthem over that ending. Like I don't know.
Exactly, it's very sentimentalized. It's very sort of
melodramatic.
Yeah, all of those things. But equally, did I hate sitting through it for 2.5 hours? No, I think it does, as I say, create a very strong atmosphere. I think the performances are decent for what they are. They're nothing special, but they're decent. And you do feel the stakes, even though it's a true story. I think a lot of times the problem with true stories is that you never feel the stakes. You never feel a sense of engagement with the story. I think that was a real problem with Naiad, where you knew she was going to complete it.
Yeah, it's better than Naiad. I will give her that. It's better than
Naiad. This, I do think stakes are created through a lot of the direction and the technical aspects, which does stop it just being another sort of true story thing where you just think, well, I know the ending, so what's the point? I do think there is a sort of pleasure in that regard.
I agree with that. It is well directed. It is well put together. I just, again, beyond just the surface level, it creates tension. It isn't doing anything as a film. Like I don't understand why this film exists, and I think I regularly push back against that argument and like, why does the scene exist? Why? Well, it should exist because it does exist because the artist made it exist, right? So we have to deal with what was given to us and not, try to, critique it by theorizing about what wasn't, right? Or saying that it shouldn't. But I don't know. I don't think that the film is doing anything meaningful with the technical aspects, with its story. I don't know. It felt so shallow and surface level to me. And as you say, it felt a bit bloated, and like it was trying to do too much. And when you're telling like this like very, very simple survival thriller, it shouldn't be feeling bloated, because if you want to maintain that atmosphere, at least for me personally, like for a survival thriller like this, like it has to be pretty streamlined. I think. Unless you're just going for like a very like transcendental tone, which is a completely different film that I don't think that Bayona is trying to go for. I think he's trying to go for this like very high octane like survival thriller that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. And when it feels bloated to the point where it could have been turned into like a miniseries, I don't think that those two ideas mesh well. And it's just kind of left me feeling like a bit flat and a bit uninterested and not really caring about what was going on, despite the atmosphere that was that he was trying to establish, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that flaw, and I can see the film not really doing anything to assert itself as a film. Like the story itself is inherently, horrifying. It's inherently emotive. It will
Right,
inherently
but it isn't doing
draw.
anything beyond
The film's not doing, and when
what's
it
on
is
the.
trying to do that,
It's
that's
trying, which
when
is why it
that's
isn't
no, when
nigh
it
as bad.
is really trying though, at towards the end, it becomes sort of,
Right.
cheesy, and it becomes a bit corny when you can
Mhm.
tell by, pulling the strings and deliberately. The best elements of this film are when it just puts these characters, real life people obviously, in this situation, puts the camera there, has all the technical stuff, and it just allows it to play out and allows you to
I would
exploit. Those
agree, but then
are
it kind of overruns those moments with how bloated it gets, I think, towards, like, the end of the second act and into the beginning of the third, like
I don't know if I entirely agree with that. I think there is enough different avenues to explore within this singular event. There are enough characters. There is a large enough ensemble where you can have characters sort of go off and do one thing, and each element does have sort of an interest to it, and you do want to explore. Because I feel like with such a large ensemble, to not have it, not have so many elements would have felt wrong and would have
Sure.
felt like we're not exploring everything quite correctly and not exploring everything to its fullest. I
Which
feel
is why I
like,
think this might be a story that just is gonna be very hard to put to film
well, indeed,
inherently, like
yeah, potentially that is a problem. But equally, it is one that is worth telling. I think, yeah, as I said, inherently the story is a very interesting one. So the
it's
film
I just
already got a slight pass. But yeah, I agree. It's not doing anything
I know, I feel
groundbreaking
like
really enough
under
to
a
make the
director
overall.
that was maybe a bit more competent, in construction, maybe could have done something a bit more
Maybe.
interesting and less
Yeah.
just incredibly straightforward.
It's a
Um,
film that's not gonna leave an impact on me or be very memorable. I think that's the difference. Like, if a film doesn't do that for me, but I still have fun watching it, in the act of
yeah,
watching it, I am a lot more likely to give it a slight pass than I think you are.
yeah.
Because yeah, you are right. There is no substance really here. There's nothing to
There's
really
zero
be thinking about.
substance to it whatsoever.
Exactly. But the act of watching it, placing you in this environment for
Sure,
2.5 hours did work for me,
sure.
and did create a decent sort of watchable time, but nothing special. Nothing special even in that regard. So, you know,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, I think that's where we're both generally at. I'm feeling a 4 out of 10 on this. Didn't
I'm
love
going
it.
with a 6. I'm going with a
Okay,
solid sort of 6. Yeah.
cool. Nice, nice. As far as awards, I think it's just getting an international feature. People have theorized about other categories that got shortlisted at the Oscars, but I think it's international feature alone, to be honest.
I think the shortlist mentions just show that it will get into international feature. I don't
Agreed.
think it. I think it just shows strength in
Yep.
that category. I don't see it transferring. Like, yeah, the makeup's quite decent in parts. Potentially, that could be the one that I'm sort of looking at. But then anything else, like VFX, is not even heavy on that. Really, there are
Yeah.
there, but
No.
it's not like anything to write home about. That's the problem with technical elements. It's a lot of them work together
They're
quite well,
serviceable, but not anything
but they're not anything
really
to
like
really. There's no one element I'm looking at
right.
really right, and I think that's going to be a problem with awards. I just don't think there'll be passion in one category. So
Absolutely. Fully agree. But those are our thoughts on Society Snow. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Rhymes. And we will see you guys later. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.